Hi, how's it going? My name is ISC, and I wanted to try to tackle a bit more homework for today in a video review, and this one's going to be a tiny bit different than the last batch of council reviews I made. I feel like I should really express something important before I start, and that's that the videos are never meant to hurt, demean, or demotivate authors into not submitting. My goal in dropping these videos is to give an accurate, completely reflective, and sometimes subjective, but not always completely perfect review of a track within the context of CTGP and how one could improve their track to be accepted or liked better within the context of the pack. I'll almost always use my opinions and objective ideas and words first and foremost, and then I tend to use the feelings of others worded into the videos to try to help explain ideas better and give a bigger picture. The goal of these videos as well is to give a place for my words to be put somewhere that goes past just a council summary, and sometimes my words will get lost in translation and I'd rather explain them somewhere to keep tabs on all of it. These reviews are expressly my thoughts and feelings attempted to be explained as best as humanly possible, sometimes unscripted or unedited, and generally I try my best to elaborate in the council itself and where the feelings will be heard the most, so these will generally be a little bit more summative and sometimes not always exact. I really hope that I don't hurt anybody's feelings in the process, and if you ever feel like there's anything that could be elaborated more, feel free to ask or mention it below. As well, always feel free to drop your thoughts and feelings down below, in any context. I'll always value your feedback and opinions, and I think, honestly, as unapproachable as council can sometimes come across, they definitely value your words too. They'll never be discredited, and I always work to improve these vids and to reach a bigger context, so I'm really hoping that I can start to help people get their work into the pack too if they'd like. Now with that really massive ramble out of the way, let's get into 3DS Rainbow Road by ZPL. I can tell you right out of the gate, this one has a kind of mixed reception in council. I really enjoyed this rendition and think it has a lot of potential, but I'm also concerned about a few areas in the track, and I believe council has its issues and feelings towards this being too different to the track currently in the pack by Big Otto, or the original, so it kind of makes it a bit of a tough sell for them. Generally speaking, some sentiments shared were that there was a lack of depth towards the strats on the track, and some people felt as if the track itself was mostly just a lot of tricks and not very cohesive in some sections. Some people expressed a desire for a longer track than one lap, and a lot seemed to desire some more specific replacements for the current tech in Big Otto's version, since they believe the rendition ZPL gave lacks a lot of elements to make it more tech heavy and strat oriented, and some believe that it kind of lost the charm of the version in the pack currently as a result a lot. For competitive, they also really tend to like these kinds of tracks to be a little bit more strat heavy, and if they lose certain elements, it starts to fade away into obscurity within the pack too. So for competitive players, they really want these kinds of elements to be maintained and kept, otherwise it will just kind of be lost in translation. As for me, on the other hand, I mostly didn't end up feeling that way. I like how this track functions, and I like how it looks a lot. I think the reframed visual style is very unique and leads to a different feel than the current version, and I think it helps it stand out in a different way. I will say some visuals, such as the asteroids, feel a little bit samey or underworked, and maybe a bit of differentiation could help the overall appeal of the environment build up more, and I think ZPL did a really good job generally though, especially with the road material to make the track feel unlike any other Rainbow Road-esque track I've experienced. I think the overall sell is definitely to what the pack would desire, and with limited slots within the pack, one thing we have to focus on is just how few slots the pack currently has, and whether a track can successfully perform in multiple key areas to function over existing ones. I really think this one both successfully differentiates itself from many other CTGP running tracks, as well as the current 3DS Rainbow Road in a somewhat innovative way that makes me believe it would have a decent bit of success in the pack in that regard if given the chance. Now as for gameplay, this is one where I completely diverge from some regular council feelings I saw. I completely love the gameplay presented here. It feels really polished and replaces certain aspects of the current track that feel a bit dated by today's viewpoints of driving. I think the overall speed from airtime has been reduced significantly, which was a major concern in the current version of the pack, and the general technical aspects such as the early tricks and strats you can perform off the curved road before some of the jumps, which allows you to perform those nicely, the craters being much lower angled, leading you to reach the ground faster, and the nice and good feeling tricks over the holes along the rings of the planet feel like a great modernization and do a really good job of updating the current representation of the track, as well as providing a different set of unique strats to innovate on the design. Two elements that I personally enjoy over the Big Otto version that might be a little bit controversial are the way that the jump onto the moon functions with a lot less air, and the possible kind of excessive strap-based ramp in the air is removed, which I just enjoy better as a setup, and the general feel in the area leading to that jump onto the moon is executed a lot better in my opinion. It doesn't feel like it takes nearly as long to drive, and gets the good part way better. The execution of placing boost panels where they are feels a lot more natural and enjoyable to drive and makes more sense contextually, and I really think I prefer it in the long run. I think there's a good amount of unique driving experience to justify me saying fixes on this track, contingent a few more ideas are modified in order to improve the track in a few key areas, which I really believe would make the track a better sell for the overall audience and help people gel more with this rendition. Mostly I'd advocate for making the tube rotate properly. I'd also suggest changing the flip trick ramps towards the end in the section after the tube to regular stunt ramps just to reduce the amount of boost and to make the section feel a little bit less trivial in terms of how you approach it, since just tricking off the boost ramps will almost assuredly be the best method. Changing the lap from 1 lap to 2 laps, which I think seemed to be a very common sentiment in council, it also applies for me too. And just re-adding the shortcut method along the ending to some capacity. That shortcut is very beloved, and I really enjoy taking it. I know it's a bit outsized to what this version necessarily wants, but I think it would perform better in the current pack with just a tiny reminder of the version currently in it, and really iconic flashy shortcuts such as that one really help to sell a track in the long run. There were also a few bugs people mentioned in the tester Discord, such as a soft lock if you fall in the starting gate below, some unfinished UVs along the edge of the rings on the planet, and the starting line being UV'd in a way to where the pattern isn't checkered properly. I think if you fix those things, this track seems like a pretty easy sell for me. I really enjoy the way that it drives overall, and I really enjoy a lot of the elements of it. So if you focus and try to put your effort into fixing these things, for me it's an easy yes. Ultimately, I really thought this track was a fun retro, and I'm wary of some of the concerns people shared for it in council, but I feel safe in saying I think I'll vote fixes for this track with some attention to gameplay elements being the major factor. I personally think it is just enough of an upgrade to warrant being in the pack over the Big Auto version, especially given the current one is doing mixed in public opinion, only being like 147th overall currently in the pack. This version is not flawless, but I think ZPL did a better job than people gave credit to, and even if it gets rejected, I'm pretty confident a 3DS Rainbow Road version, not too far off of this one, seems like a real possibility to get into the pack with a more direct focus. People kept saying that to different capacities or trying to express that in some way. I'm not sure it will end up in the summary, but I feel like a video like this saying that will just help to elaborate on that idea more, for sure. So somebody will break through if it's not this version. That's what I'm gonna say. But I really hope you continue making cool tracks such as this one, ZPL, and thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Expect more content like this in the future. Peace.